Hello Lakers fan, if you are one of those who are always up to date with the news about our Lakers, then you need to stay tuned to what is coming up on our Lakers news channel. I am preparing exclusive coverage on the possible signings of Lakers, and what I can tell you is that rumors are catching fire on social media, and if you don't want to miss any information, stay tuned. We have exclusive news every day. If you are a true Lakers and don't want to be left out of the news, be sure to subscribe. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Let's go to the video.
Which Lakers have contract options? And when do they need to decide? The Los Angeles Lakers' unceremonious exit from the 2025 NBA playoffs has thrown a harsh spotlight on the flaws in the team's roster construction. While few are blaming GM Rob Pelinka for not building a perfectly balanced squad after acquiring Luka Doncic mid-season, there's no denying that this offseason is absolutely critical. Pelinka now faces the daunting challenge of constructing a true title contender around Doncic and LeBron James. One thing is clear: the Lakers need reinforcements, especially a reliable center and some gritty defense-first players. Pelinka should have full backing from Genie Bus to make whatever moves are necessary. But here's the catch: not every decision is in the front office's hands. That's because several key Lakers players hold contract options, player, team, or partially guaranteed, that will shape how much financial flexibility the team has. Until those choices are made, LA can't finalize a plan for building out the roster. Here's a breakdown of who holds the cards and when decisions must be made. LeBron James, player option. Let's start with the biggest domino, LeBron James. His $52.6 million player option must be exercised or declined by June 29th, just one day before NBA free agency begins. Once again, LeBron defied time in the 2024-25 season. Not only did he break records almost nightly, but he also reinvented his role after the Doncic trade, shifting from a primary scorer with occasional defensive lapses to a selfless, defense-minded playmaker who embraced a tertiary scoring role. If LeBron wants to stay, the Lakers will find a way to keep him. Opting in would place the Lakers above the first tax apron and limit their flexibility. But the more likely outcome? He declines the option and signs a new deal, likely at a similar number. All signs point to a return. Dorian Finney-Smith, player option. While Doncic's arrival grabbed headlines, Dorian Finney-Smith was arguably the team's defensive game-changer. Acquired from the Brooklyn Nets in late December, Finney-Smith helped transform the Lakers from a bottom-tier defensive team into a unit hovering around league average, even flirting with elite status post-Doncic. Now, he holds a $15.4 million player option, also due June 29th. At 32, this might be his last shot at securing a multi-year deal. The smart money says he'll opt out and negotiate a longer contract, possibly with a similar first-year salary. Given his defensive value and seamless fit, re-signing with LA feels like the most likely scenario. Jordan Goodwin, team option. Originally signed on a two-way deal, Jordan Goodwin earned a standard contract after making a real impact defensively mid-season. By the time the playoffs rolled around, he was a consistent part of the rotation. The Lakers now hold a $2.4 million team option on Goodwin. Given how much energy and defensive toughness he brought to the squad, it would be a shock if they declined it. Even if LA adds more high-end talent this summer, Goodwin offers the kind of defensive versatility every team needs off the bench. Shake Milton, non-guaranteed deal. Milton came over in the same trade that landed Finney-Smith, but he didn't find much of a role with the Lakers, largely due to a crowded backcourt. LA has until July 20th to guarantee his $3 million contract, and at this point, it seems unlikely. That said, Milton could still be valuable as a depth piece or potential trade filler. The front office will likely use the early weeks of free agency to evaluate whether he fits into their broader plans. Final thoughts. This offseason is pivotal for the Lakers, and it all starts with these option decisions. What LeBron and Finney-Smith decide will shape how much cap flexibility Rob Pelinka has to work with. Every move will need to count if LA wants to transform from postseason disappointment to title contender. The clock is ticking. A defining offseason for Pelinka and the Lakers. With the decisions of LeBron James and Dorian Finney-Smith looming large, the pressure on GM Rob Pelinka has never been higher. The 2025 offseason isn't just about tweaking a roster. It's about reshaping the future of a franchise at a crossroads. For all of LeBron's enduring greatness and Doncic's superstardom, this team needs a more complete supporting cast to compete with the likes of Denver, Minnesota, and the rising powers in the East. Pelinka is expected to be aggressive in free agency and on the trade market, but the Lakers' financial situation, particularly if LeBron opts in, significantly limits their flexibility. Without cap space, Los Angeles will need to rely on tools like the mid-level exception, veteran minimum contracts, and potential trades to bolster the roster. Sources around the league have already linked the Lakers to several names, including veteran rim protectors and 3 and D wings, two glaring needs. A possible reunion with Jared Vanderbilt has also been floated, though his availability depends on ongoing recovery from injury. Meanwhile, fans and analysts alike have speculated about the potential inclusion of young assets like Max Christie or future first-round picks in trade packages to land another impact piece. What about Anthony Davis? One overlooked factor in all this is Anthony Davis, who remains under contract but will inevitably become a central figure in the Lakers' reshaping. Despite a strong statistical season, Davis faced renewed scrutiny during the playoffs, particularly for his inconsistency and lack of late-game dominance. With LeBron nearing the twilight of his career and Doncic entering his prime, Davis must embrace a more consistent leadership role, especially on defense, where his impact can still be game-changing. There's also the question of chemistry. How well can the Doncic-LeBron-AD trio really function over a full season, and what kind of roster needs to surround them for it to work? Fan expectations and media pressure are sky-high. The Lakers aren't just any franchise. Expectations in Los Angeles are title or bust, and the backlash following the first-round exit was swift. Sports radio lit up with calls questioning coaching decisions, lack of bench depth, and even LeBron's continued presence on the team. On social media, fans have debated everything from trade ideas to firing Darvin Ham, whose future with the team is also under evaluation. Inside the organization, there's an understanding that this summer is make or break. Jeannie Buss is reportedly deeply involved in discussions with Pelinka, and ownership is said to be aligned in their desire to go all in for at least one more serious title push while LeBron is still on the roster, however long that may be. The clock is ticking. As June 29th approaches, every day matters. LeBron's decision will set off a chain reaction, not just for the Lakers, but potentially across the league. If he opts out and flirts with free agency, teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers and even the Miami Heat are rumored to be watching closely, though most insiders believe his heart remains in Los Angeles, particularly with his son Bronny eligible for the 2025 NBA draft. Ultimately, what the Lakers do or fail to do, this offseason will define not only their immediate future but possibly the final chapter of LeBron James' legendary career. One thing's for sure, the world will be watching. Luka Doncic attends Real Madrid game, appears in top shape, a promising sign for the Lakers. This summer marks a pivotal moment in Luka Doncic's career, and for the Los Angeles Lakers, it could be the beginning of a new era. Expectations have skyrocketed for the 26-year-old Slovenian superstar, now the centerpiece of a franchise that made a bold move to build its future around him. In a headline-making decision, GM Rob Pelinka traded away Anthony Davis, a key figure in the Lakers' 2020 championship run, to fully commit to Doncic as the team's cornerstone. While Luka showed flashes of brilliance after arriving in LA, it was clear he wasn't playing at full capacity, still hampered by a nagging calf injury. After a disappointing first-round playoff exit, all eyes are on how the Lakers will restructure the roster to better complement their new star. But it seems Doncic is already doing his part. On Sunday morning, he was spotted courtside at a Real Madrid game, looking noticeably leaner and sharper. That's a big deal. For a team with championship ambitions, seeing your franchise player take off-season conditioning seriously is exactly the kind of leadership you want. There had been whispers after the trade, speculation that Luka's fitness and playing weight were among the reasons Dallas was willing to part ways with a generational talent. But this version of Doncic? He's clearly sending a message. Luka's physical transformation could be a game-changer. Doncic has always delivered elite production, even when not at peak fitness, flirting with triple-doubles as a norm, not an exception. But to maximize his impact and compete for titles, the Lakers need the best version of him, physically strong, mentally locked in, and ready to lead. This transformation could be the key. Head coach J.J. Redick has emphasized the importance of conditioning and preparation in off-season interviews, and Luka's appearance at the Real Madrid match only reinforces that he's buying in. He looks lighter. He looks focused. And perhaps more importantly, he looks motivated. Turning the page on a difficult season. The abrupt end to the Lakers' playoff run was a tough pill to swallow. But for Luka, it also provided a rare opportunity to pause, reflect, and reset. Being traded mid-season, especially from a franchise he once saw himself with for life, is emotionally jarring. The noise, the pressure, the media narratives, they all came crashing down. Much of that criticism revolved around his body language, fitness, and leadership. Now, it seems Doncic is using all of it as fuel. According to sources close to the team, the Lakers believe Luka is changing a lot about himself this offseason, not just physically, but in terms of his mindset and approach. His presence at the Real Madrid game, the club where his basketball journey began, felt symbolic. A reminder of his roots. A reset button. And maybe even a quiet statement, he's ready for what's next. A new chapter begins. The Western Conference is stacked. There are no easy paths to the finals. But with a rebuilt roster and a rejuvenated Doncic leading the way, the Lakers have every reason to believe they can be right back in the title mix. If this offseason is any indication, Luka Doncic isn't just preparing for another season. He's preparing to rewrite his legacy in purple and gold. And Los Angeles is watching. So is the rest of the league. Doncic's transformation sends a message to the league and the locker room. Doncic showing up in shape and fully engaged this early in the offseason is more than a personal milestone. It's a message to the rest of the league, to his teammates, and to the Lakers front office. He's ready to lead. Players around the league have taken notice. According to sources close to the situation, Doncic's physical turnaround has sparked conversations among peers about his commitment and hunger to win, especially after years of carrying the Mavericks deep into the playoffs, only to come up short. Now, with a fresh start in Los Angeles, he seems determined to silence doubters and elevate his game to championship levels. For the Lakers, this shift is energizing. Teammates are reportedly excited and inspired by Doncic's early work this summer. His effort is already setting the tone for what could be one of the most intense training camps the team has seen in years, especially with head coach J.J. Redick expected to implement a new, faster-paced offensive system tailored around Doncic's playmaking. A new culture is taking shape in Los Angeles. This isn't just about Luka. It's about the culture the Lakers are trying to build around him. Since Redick's arrival, there's been a clear push toward accountability, discipline, and player development. Sources say Redick and Pelinka are in near-daily communication about roster fits, off-season development plans, and creating a locker room built on winning habits. Doncic, by showing up lean and locked in, is buying into that vision, and his influence is already changing the dynamic in the building. Veteran leaders around the league understand that culture starts at the top. If your franchise player isn't fully committed, the rest of the roster won't be either. But if Luka is the first one in the gym, showing up in shape, and embracing a new system, that changes everything. Media and fan reaction, from concern to confidence. Just a few weeks ago, there were real concerns among analysts and fans about whether Doncic was truly ready to be the guy in Los Angeles, especially under the bright lights and relentless scrutiny of the LA market. But now, the tone is shifting. Sports media outlets are already picking up on Doncic's transformation, with commentators praising his renewed focus. On social media, Lakers fans, once skeptical after the team's early exit, are buzzing with cautious optimism. Posts comparing his recent appearance to earlier photos from his Dallas days have gone viral, with fans commenting that Luka looks like he means business this time. And if this version of Luka shows up on opening night, it could very well reshape the Western Conference hierarchy. What comes next? The next few weeks are critical. As the Lakers finalize their off-season moves, including key decisions on LeBron James, Dorian Finney-Smith, and potential trade targets, Doncic's presence as a stabilizing, committed leader gives the front office much-needed clarity. They're not just building around Luka. They're building with him. Redick and Pelinka have a rare opportunity, a generational talent in his prime, motivated like never before, surrounded by a front office and ownership group willing to make bold moves. If they get this right, and if Doncic's transformation holds, the Lakers could be looking at more than just a bounce-back season. They could be laying the foundation for a new golden era in LA. I just don't see it, Gilbert Arenas subtly backs Nico Harrison's criticism of Luka Doncic. Gilbert Arenas may not have said it outright, but his recent comments seem to echo Dallas Mavericks GM Nico Harrison's concerns about Luka Doncic, particularly when it comes to defense. For 6 seasons, Luka poured everything he had into the Mavericks franchise. He played through injuries, carried the team on his back, and turned Dallas into a perennial playoff contender. Yet when the opportunity came, the Mavs didn't hesitate. They traded their franchise cornerstone to the Los Angeles Lakers, sending shockwaves through the NBA. Since the trade, the Mavericks haven't exactly taken the high road. In fact, the front office, led by Harrison, has subtly and not so subtly criticized Doncic's game. One of their most pointed critiques? His lack of elite defensive ability. Gilbert Arenas, I just don't see him becoming a lockdown defender. While Luka's offensive brilliance is unquestioned, he's easily one of the most gifted scorers and playmakers in the league. His defense has always been a talking point. Former NBA star Gilbert Arenas recently weighed in on the subject, offering his perspective on what fans should expect from a five-time All-Star heading into the offseason. I think he's going to get in better shape. Defense? I don't know. Either you play defense or you don't. I just don't see him becoming a lockdown defender, said Arenas. It was a blunt but honest assessment. And although Arenas hopes to see Luka improve physically, he remains skeptical that Doncic will ever evolve into a defensive force, a sentiment that seems to align with what Harrison implied after the blockbuster trade. What's next for Luka? As the dust settles, all eyes are on the 2025-26 season, not just for Doncic, but for the two teams now tied to one of the most shocking trades in recent memory. For the Lakers, the off-season will be crucial. The front office is expected to make significant moves to bolster the roster around Luka, ensuring the team can maximize its new superstar's prime years. If they can build a competent supporting cast, the Lakers could make serious noise in the West. For the Mavericks, the outlook is different, but not without promise. Their shocking lottery luck landed them the No.1 pick in the 2025 NBA draft, giving them a fresh start and a potential future superstar in Cooper Flagg. The trade, painful as it was, has opened the door to a new era in Dallas. Luka's chance to silence the doubters. Whether it's Nico Harrison's comments or Gilbert Arenas' doubts, Doncic will enter next season with something to prove, and he knows it. With a full offseason to recover, train, and adjust to life in LA, Luka has a golden opportunity to flip the narrative. Will he rise to the challenge and prove he's more than just an offensive juggernaut? Or will Harrison's gamble prove right in the long run? One thing's for sure, the story isn't over. And Luka Doncic might be the one holding the pen. Luka's crucial offseason, a defining moment. With the 2025-26 NBA season fast approaching, Luka Doncic's off-season training will be under the microscope like never before. His ability to step up his conditioning and refine his defensive skills will be pivotal in determining whether the trade to the Lakers becomes a turning point in his career or if he continues to be the lightning rod for criticism. For Luka, the pressure is mounting. This isn't just about improving on the court, it's about redefining himself as a more complete player. While his offensive brilliance has been undeniable, the glaring hole in his game, defense, continues to haunt him. And with more voices like Arenas and Harrison scrutinizing his every move, Doncic has little choice but to rise to the occasion. The off-season will give Luka the chance to prove his doubters wrong. If he can come back with a sharper defensive game, he will silence the critics and show that he is capable of doing whatever it takes to lead his new team to the promised land. The trade that shocked the NBA. When the Mavericks traded Luka Doncic to the Lakers, it wasn't just a deal, it was a statement. The NBA world was left stunned, questioning the Mavs' long-term vision. On one hand, they had a generational talent capable of leading them to a championship. On the other, they chose to part ways with him, citing not only the need for a change but also concerns about Luka's defensive shortcomings. The decision triggered a wave of speculation. Could the Mavs have gotten more for Doncic? Was the trade made prematurely? Did they underestimate the value of a player who has so often carried them on his back, regardless of the circumstances? What followed was an interesting shift in perception. Fans and analysts quickly shifted focus to the Lakers, wondering how they could maximize Luka's talents in their system. In LA, expectations are sky high. Luka will need to be more than just an offensive star. He'll need to fit into a system that demands elite-level defense, particularly if the Lakers are serious about championship contention. Nico Harrison's leadership under scrutiny. For Nico Harrison, the decision to trade Luka Doncic could either define his legacy as a GM or haunt him for years to come. Many are watching closely to see how Harrison justifies this move, especially after the Mavericks front office gave strong criticisms of Luka's defensive efforts. However, what's more concerning for the Mavs front office is the reality that this trade, whether a success or failure, will define Harrison's tenure. The pressure is on to ensure that the pieces they've acquired in exchange for Luka pan out, whether through the draft or future acquisitions. If the Mavs rebuild doesn't lead to quick success, Harrison's move could be seen as a massive blunder. But if it leads to a future championship contender, It could be hailed as visionary leadership. The ripple effect across the league. This trade doesn't just impact the Mavericks and the Lakers. It sent shockwaves throughout the entire NBA. Teams are watching how Luka adapts to life in LA and how the Lakers reshape their roster. If Luka thrives and the Lakers become even more dominant, expect other franchises to rethink their strategies in terms of building a championship roster. Could teams begin to move away from traditional stars and focus on versatility, depth, and all-around players, like Luka, who can be developed further? Moreover, Luka's journey with the Lakers will likely affect how other young stars, like Cooper Flagg, approach their careers. Flagg, the presumed #1 pick in the 2025 NBA draft, is part of the next generation of players who will watch closely as Luka navigates his challenges in Los Angeles. What does the future hold for Luka Doncic? The big question remains, what's next for Luka? Will he take the lessons from his critics, work hard in the off-season, and become the multifaceted player the Lakers need? Or will the doubts around his defensive abilities continue to cloud his career? The coming season will be a turning point, not just for Luka Doncic, but for the entire NBA. It will define whether the Mavericks made a massive miscalculation or if they were justified in their decision to let go of a superstar. As Luka steps into the Lakers spotlight, the entire league is watching, and his performance will have lasting repercussions for years to come.